Okay, I am super excited to bring you a discussion and maybe sort of playing of, not a playthrough, but we're going to start playing Outsiders, which is an expansion for Notorious. It's a standalone expansion, but there are also rules to integrate it with Notorious. You can take your characters and bring their story from Notorious into Outsiders. That was what I was hoping to do, but unfortunately, when I got out my sheets here, my character sheet is missing. So I'm going to regroup and just play Outsiders, and then I will talk about the ways in which you can integrate them. This is described as a hardscrabble bounty hunting at the edge of the galaxy. And you can see here from the cover, these are the nomads that you play. There's 6 totally new characters here that you can play, and these are the older ones. I'm not going to go through so much the mechanisms of the game in this video, although I will discuss them as they come up, because I went through all of that in the video that I did on Notorious. This is it's basically a journaling game with mechanics. It's a mechanical journaling game, I guess the way to say it. It is both an expansion and a sequel to Notorious. It's a sci-fi tabletop role-playing game for one player where you'll tell stories of the Nomads, notorious bounty hunters who follow the dubious code of the Nomads Guild. While the intergalactic war continues to consume the core planets, your story moves to a distant frontier on the edge of the galaxy, the outside. Factions here struggle for control over a rich supply of resources and opportunities, while determined locals attempt to fight back against their pervasive influence. Meanwhile, the arrival of the old Empire's powerful fleet has sent shockwaves through the system. You must once again search for your targets among uncharted wilds and bustling destinations. Confront ruthless ambition, destructive greed, and hidden motivations. Face up to your own past and determine your future. Learn what it really means to be an outsider. It says the average playtime is 1 to 2 hours. It is from Always Checkers Publishing, and I do thank them for reaching out and sending me this copy of the game. Now, like Notorious, a good bunch of this 72-page book has to do with character and world creation and building. And when you do that, you then take the character that you've built in the world that they are in, and you will be traveling through by means of rolling on some tables and things. But the random tables themselves they take up maybe about 15 pages of the book. But what makes the game really work despite that, and what I said in my other video on Notorious, is that as you travel through, as you progress through the game, the values that you get within each of the tables will change, so that as your individual character changes, the outcome of the tables that they roll on changes. And that's a very efficient way of getting a pretty good variability in tables that are D6 based. So all of the tables are D6, and then sometimes they'll have D6 options within that table. But because when you roll on the table later in the game, a particular value you get is going to differ than when you roll on it earlier, even if the die number is the same. It gives a progression, and it is part of the success of how the engine works. So what we're going to do for this video is we're going to just create our nomad, and we're going to start by setting up their story, and I'll just show you how that goes. As I said, if you want more of a walkthrough of the rules, you could look at my Notorious video, but it's not necessary, I don't think, to see that video to do it. The game play is extremely clearly set up, and we will follow it, basically, and we are going to be abiding by our guild code. To finish the job, to only kill when necessary. We don't fight nomads. Our employer's business is their own, and we're not going to get attached. The trilogy mode, I'm going to skip over. That has to do with if you're taking your character from Notorious into this game. As I said, I can't find my character sheet right now for that, so I'm going to skip over that, and we're just going to play with the outsiders. The heart of the game are the reactions that you have when you encounter something, and there is a very handy reaction table, as in the first game, where it tells you what your reaction could be based on what you are encountering. So, for example, if you're encountering a hostile, you cannot speak to them and you cannot recruit them, but you may threaten or attack them. Or if you are encountering a target, you may speak to them, but you cannot threaten them. So that is a matrix that you will return to see what your options are. You are going to be rolling 2 dice, one for you and one for your opponent, and the higher value wins. And then there are modifiers that will come into play to determine the various values there. And you have something called motivation that you can spend to re-roll your dice if you want to do that. You can also have here in the book, it outlines what the options are when you do these things in different tables. And then we will move to creating our nomad. Now, it says, so we're a bounty hunter, and we are going to roll on the table to determine the type of nomad, or we can choose a profile. I think I'm going to the options rookie, tech, beastmaster, deserter, duo, or veteran. I'm going to go, I only really want to be the tech or the veteran, so I'm going to give a roll of 1, 2, 3. I will be the tech. 4, 5, 6. I will be the veteran. And so I'm going to be a tech here. My eccentric intelligence and technical proficiency hide a curious naivete and desire to atone for a misguided project. Okay. So we're going to record on this is the nomad sheet, and we're going to record our information here. And the first thing that we will do, well, first of all, we're going to note that we are a tech. And let's see. Well, I don't know that we actually have a spot for that there. Let's go to, here's the tech. Oh, that's what we look like, the tech. So we are going to have a scrambler rifle, and it explains what the impact is. Melee, we have shock gloves. And our outfit, we have a practical jumpsuit, a tool belt, a personal force field with 2 extra health. Early warning, we have a bot companion, who fights first. Oh, that's cool. They can't use motivation. Your bot is fully repaired after each combat. Oh, well, that's actually quite helpful. So let's roll for our origin, and I will do this just random. So consider how being a tech is going to influence our attitude to others. The Admiral's fleet made you work under duress to design a powerful super weapon until you manage to escape. So right away, I'm some type of, maybe I'm rebellious in a certain manner. How do people react to the scar that I have? Wanted posters featuring you and your bot are handed out in cantinas throughout the outside. Okay, so we're like a fugitive. We're like some type of fugitive tech. The trigger, consider how this impacts our choices. I'm the only surviving member of my graduation class, as the rest left to join the distant intergalactic war. So this says to me that I have like my own kind of morality, I guess, and that I am an outsider among outsiders, really. I worked under duress, I escaped, and there's wanted posters of me, so I escaped from something that must have been pretty powerful, and I am the only surviving member of my class that did that. So definitely an outsider among outsiders. Now, there's a diverse range of characters. We're going to be a species here, so we're going to be rolling 2d10 here to 2d6s to see what kind of species we are. 5. We are mystic marked. Mystic marked. Okay, I don't know maybe there's magic. I can't remember that. We're going to choose a name. I don't know. I'll do that off camera. We are mystic marked, and we do have a bot with us who's going to get one of these names. All right, our personality. Now, we're going to generate our personality, but I kind of feel like we already know it. Let's see how this tailors in. 2, grim, melancholy, irritable. What tragic event did they recently witness, or what precious memento do we carry to honor a fallen friend? Well, we're kind of like a rebel. I didn't really get the sense that we are melancholy or grim. But we're going to go with the randomness, because that is part of this game, is using the prompts to generate a story. So we're going to put that to the side for the moment and kind of think about what that might be when we have more of the story. So it says the contract. With your nomad established, it's now time to determine who the target is, the person we're hunting. Well, maybe the person we're hunting has something to do with why we are melancholy. I don't know. The Nomads Guild provides key information about the target, and we're going to create this contract. So the first things, it says follow these steps and determine your target. We're going to roll for their species again and choose a name. So we'll go back to the species. This is going to be for the target. And we got a 10. Canine alien. So a canine alien is the target. We are mystic marked. And their personality we're going to be rolling for. And their personality is going to be shifty, cagey, enigmatic. What are they reluctant to reveal about themselves to others, or what small handheld item do they fidget with endlessly? So they're some type of canine, a small dog. Let's see. They're a canine alien that's shifty and enigmatic. Okay. Roll for the planet where our story takes place. That's going to be on page 38. Let's see. This is going to be, it's a D6 roll. So we're on planet Katoon, a prison planet. You land your ship at night in the scavenged wreckage of an enormous old empire walker. The terrain, corsair flags, towering walls, barren scrublands, hastily abandoned buildings. The predominant species is going to be Kiyono. What was that? Oh, canine alien. All right. That makes sense, because that's our patron, or that's our target. So we're here. We are at this prison planet. That is our target. And the predominant destination is a fleet cargo storage. And we have some competing factions here. This is kind of like all I can remember in my brain before I have to start to write it down. So there's competing factions, and there are some descriptions of them with bounties. Let's see how that's going to play into our story. Now, I don't know whether our target is part of one of those factions or not. I'll have to think about that or look more closely at the rules. And let's see, what else is... I think that's all we have for the progression here. Before we get to the progression of the story, I think that's all we need to do. So I'm going to have to write this up, think about it, and come back with my thoughts put together. But before I do that, we'll just look here at the basic loop of the game. The story of your hunt for the target is told through a loop, with you rolling on a series of tables and reacting to prompts. You'll explore the wilderness of a planet until you reach a destination. Then you'll set out once more to explore. So we did get, I think the destination was meant to be I think it was the salvage, the fleet cargo storage as our destination. But I need to figure out what our relationship is, like where are we? Once you've completed the prompt, then you move to the after you do the exploration prompt, then you go to the exploration event. And then when you do that, you move to the destinations. So as you alternate between exploration and destination, You'll interact with people, observe events, and engage in combat. These activities and how you react to them will alter your 3 attributes, which are favor, notoriety, and motivation. I don't think I covered that yet. And it says as you get more notoriety, this will change the results on the tables that you're rolling on. So it says hostile guards may start to apply pressure to you. You'll begin to get leads. You'll be more effective in what you're trying to do as your notoriety arises. And then when you get leads, you'll create leads until you catch up to them and get to the cinematic confrontation, which is the showdown. And that's going to be the final showdown, the end of your story. So you do start out with the basic given to you stats of favor, notoriety, and motivation. And we'll see as we get into it how this changes when you are rolling on the table. Okay, I've recorded all the information that I have, but there's something very important that we need to do now, which has to do with this target. So the target is Rexo Rift. This is a canine alien, as we said, who's shifty and enigmatic. But what we need to do is figure out who our client faction is, who has hired us. And when I look at we've landed on this prison planet, or our story starts here on this prison planet, that there's the controlling, the challenging, and the minor factions here. The challenging faction is the Admiral's fleet. And when I look up the Admiral's fleet in here, it says that the old empire's influence is slowly encroaching upon the outside. Admiral Frayne, a ruthless tactician, has been assigned to acquire resources, protect military assets, and bring order. It gives some suggestions for the reasons for the bounty. And the reason that I chose this one is because the target of my mission is going to be an old Empire scientist who has gone into hiding after a failed experiment. And the question is, why? Well, it gets back to my backstory. And you'll remember that in my backstory, one of my origins was that the Admiral's fleet had made me work under duress. I'm a tech, remember, to design a powerful super weapon, but I managed to escape. Yet, my personality I rolled up that was grim, melancholy, irritable. The question was, well, why? It wasn't really feeling that way. It felt like I was more of just a kind of a super outsider. But the reason why is exactly this, that I was caught. They had those, we had mention of the wanted posters hung, the wanted posters for me and my bot. So actually the prequel to what's happened is I was actually caught. My bot and I were caught, but in order to regain our freedom that we already had because we managed to escape this duress from the Admiral's fleet, is we have to do one last thing for the Admiral's fleet. So the Admiral's fleet is going to be our client faction, and the target is going to be, we have to go back and continue to pursue this mission here that somebody else has gone into hiding because something failed. And just like we did not want to design this powerful super weapon, our target is somebody else, maybe also a rebel who is in hiding because something quote unquote failed or they didn't want to do it. But now we are being forced to go find them as the reason for why we're here, to gain our freedom. And that's kind of making us irritable and grim because we're being forced to do something against our own inner self. But nevertheless, we're going to do it because we're self-interested enough to really, the fact that we escaped once and then we were caught, we're going to now try to do this thing for our client, the old empire. And so we will complete filling that in, and that will give us, I think, everything else we need to know. All right, so we're going to get going here, remembering the game loop and how we are meant to deal with that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll on the exploration table, and then we will complete that prompt. And that's the deal. We know that we are our target is Rexo Rift, and there's some. It's a kind of, I guess you'd maybe say, I don't want to say a redemption mission, because we are trying to free ourselves again, basically, and that's what we're needing to do. So first thing we'll do is we will roll on the exploration table, and I didn't mention in the yet in the video, but everybody starts with a favor value of 2, 0 notoriety, and a 2 motivation. And that's just what you are given in the game. So the first thing you're going to do is to roll on exploration. And then in this game, we will be, when we roll values, we will be taking the value from the kind of clear, cloudy die, and then the blue die is going to be the enemy value. But here, this is just us rolling on the table. So we got a 2, and it says if our notoriety is 6 or higher, we encounter a lead, which we are not there yet. We haven't even started. So otherwise, we're going to roll once on the exploration events table. So we will do exploration events here, and we are going to be, let's see, we're going to be rolling 2d6 in this case. And in this case here, we're going to read it blue and then the clear. So that's going to be a 2 and a 3. So 2 and 3. We discover the ruins of a building once owned by the controlling faction. Wiping a dusty surface reveals a clue. Roll a die. Okay, let's see. The clue is the challenging faction. That is the, let's see. The challenging faction is the Admiral's Fleet. The challenging faction recently demolished it. Gain 1 motivation. Well, that was easy. All right, we gain a motivation here. And what blueprints do you discover, and how does it remind you of your origin? So this is where it's important to follow what you have mapped out here, because it is key to your story. So our origin here is this. We escaped our work under duress. We were refusing to do something. We were somewhat of a rebel here, and here it is the challenging faction, which is the faction we escaped. The Admiral's Fleet here has demolished something. So what are we discovering that it is demolished? Well, I think it said that we didn't want to create something. So maybe what we have found are the remnants of the thing that, let's see, let me go back and actually read. We didn't want to design this powerful super weapon, so we managed to escape, but then we were drawn back in. So I think what this is saying is that we're in the ruins of this building. We have, I think we have discovered the blueprints to this thing, and it's reminding us of the unfair way that we were treated by the faction, and the fact that we are now being employed by them again to basically track down Roxo Rift, who is our target, but on some level, I think we also feel an affinity toward, because he himself was trying to, in his own way, escape having to do the dirty work for this faction. So that is what happened. And then it says when we've completed the prompt, we move to the destination. So we will go to the destination table, and we will roll a d6 to find out something here. We arrive at a bustling spaceport run by the challenging faction. We're going to resolve both. So we're going to gain a notoriety here. So let's see, the challenging faction is, again, the Admiral's Fleet. So we're going to gain a notoriety, and our notoriety is not greater than 5. It's just 1. So we're not going to have to deal with the hostile guard, but we are going to roll twice on the destination events table. So we will roll here again, reading blue and then clear, 1 and then 6. You walk past a ship, admiring its unique mods and catching the eye of the freelance pilot or rookie nomad who owns it. Roll a die. The boarding ramp opens, but something inside the ship sets off your trigger. What do the contents reveal about their reason for landing here? Well, you recall that our trigger was that we were the only surviving member of our class. So maybe this freelance pilot or rookie nomad, maybe they are like not in our class, but they were at that same place and we recognize them. And so we are going to try to interact with them. And so in this particular case, they would be a sort of like a local, I think. So our options are we could speak with them basically. So we're going to take a reaction. We're going to try to speak with the pilot of this ship. Okay, so the way this works is we're going to roll our die and add half of our favor, which is currently at a 2, half of our favor rounded up. And if we get the higher value, we will succeed. And then we will roll on the table to see what type of success we get. So we didn't even need that 1. We have rolled greater than they do. So we have succeeded. So we're turning to the pilot and we're speaking with the pilot, and the pilot is telling us that our client has kept a crucial piece of information from us. What details did they withhold that changes everything? Well, I think in this case, it's obvious that the detail is that this Rexo rift, when our target, allegedly, we were told that when we brought our target back and when we captured our target, we would be free again to live our life and free of this burden. And I think this pilot is telling us that that actually is not the case. So we now know that piece of information, and I'm not sure what we're going to do with that information, but it does make us a little bit more skeptical of the faction. I mean, as well we should be, I think, in general, but we're feeling like we're not going to be out of this cycle anytime soon. All right, and now we're back to, we had to roll twice on the destination events table, so that was just the first roll. So the second roll here is going to be a 5 and a 4. And that will take us to a huge cleanup operation is underway after an environmental disaster. The distraught locals could use some help. Roll a die. We rolled a 6. I'm rolling a lot of 6s on here. Okay. Spend time helping them clear away the debris, lose 1 favor, but gain 1 motivation. Why do they hold the controlling faction responsible? I'm not sure what the roll of die is. Or seek out the last remnants of a valuable resource to gain 1 favor. What clue do you find that suggests a faction are covering up an accident? So the question here is we have a decision to make that we can spend time, we can do something good and lose a favor but gain a motivation, or we can, what I'm going to do is seek out the last remnants of a valuable resource to gain a favor, because we are out for ourselves, and we have just found out that we are about to be betrayed. So we're not in a mood to be benevolent and help out. We are in a mood to get going and find Rexo Rift, and when we get him, deal with him in such a way, because we don't really think we're going to get what we are promised. So in that case, we are going to search here to see if there's anything that we can find. And do we get a clue that the faction is covering up an accident? Well, I'm going to say that there isn't a search. There's not like a search mechanic, but if there were, I would roll to see if we successfully search. But I'm going to say we did successfully search. And in fact, what we found is something that we're going to be able to use for perhaps some blackmail or something to give us some leverage. We're going to put this in our pocket, as it were, whatever this is, this piece of evidence against the Admiral's fleet, so that when we do finally get to our target, we have some leverage, because we know we've been told, we just learned this piece of information that we're going to be betrayed. But now we actually have something that we can use in the future, moving forward to help ourselves. And I think with that, I'm going to stop the gameplay portion of the video because I don't want to give away and reveal too many of the table prompts, because that is really the meat of the game. The outsiders are just outsiders. But hopefully this gave you a look inside what this gameplay is like. Again, this is an expansion and standalone to Notorious. I mentioned at the outset that I would talk about the way in which you can play trilogy mode. So basically, what you do is you can play any of the 12 nomads. Six are in this book and 6 are in the original. And you will play through that. And when you track your target, after you complete that, you then do it essentially over again, taking a benefit and upgrade from the successful completion of your first contract. So it's a way to use the content in both books and give yourself a benefit, essentially like a leveling up, because you have already completed one of the contracts or the missions from Notorious with the same character who is now going to be playing in the world of the Outsiders. So that's a look inside the expansion, the standalone expansion for Outsiders. I think if you are somebody who likes journaling games, but with enough mechanic to direct the story, this sort of hits the perfect note for that. If you're somebody who likes a game that has a feel of almost like it's almost meditative in a sense, because there's this sense of like isolation in space, and there is it's a world that is somewhat desolate, but yet it is a world that is not even the art, as you can see, it's not like very, very harsh feeling. So it kind of it occupies a unique space in that way, that it is harsh, but it doesn't feel that way. And aesthetically, it's not presented that way. It's a very pleasing presentation and almost contemplative, I guess, that's what I'm thinking. The word I need. It's contemplative, or can be, as you develop your story of hardscrabble bounty hunting amid intergalactic war.